Good morning, my lovely people of Earth. I hope that you are having the best day that you've ever had in your entire life. I wanted to talk just a little bit today about the law of attraction, but from a slightly different viewpoint than we see in media and maybe a slightly different viewpoint than you have thought about it before. The law of attraction, to me at this point, is very different than the law of attraction that I knew when I was younger, 20 years old or whatever. I used to think of it as visual and making vision boards, stating what I wanted, being clear about it, and it seemed very magical. Now, as I have experienced times when I've created things with the law of attraction, and as I've read and studied and put into practice different techniques and had different perspectives offered to me through different teachers and etc. throughout the years, through like 20 years, I've come to realize that there's nothing magical about it whatsoever. And it is all about the way that the brain and the mind works with the filtering system of the reticular activating system. I actually have a video about that if you want to watch it. I won't get too much into that right now, but if you want to look it up, reticular activating system. Essentially, that really filters out everything that is unnecessary to our experience in reality, and we're kind of subconsciously in charge of that. We choose it, and there are different ways in which we use our brain and our mind that creates our reality. And the created reality that we're in, maybe it's an illusion of our mind, maybe not. We'll never really know. So it's the only reality we know. So does it really matter if it's not real? Does it really matter if we're just making it up with our minds? I don't think so. It's kind of like the Matrix, the guy at the end who's eating the steak and he's like, I know this isn't real, but it tastes so good. It's being aware that it's kind of an illusion or a projection that you're creating is kind of fun because you can manipulate it the way that you want it to be. You can change things. I don't know what the ultimate reality is. I won't pretend to know. But I do know that I create the reality that I experience. And one of the main ways that I do this, and that you do this, that we all do this, is through emotions. What happens, the way that I've come to understand it after a super intense study and really looking into it, so I'm pretty sure this is the way that it happens, your body becomes addicted to your emotional patterns, the emotional patterns that you have regularly. So if you're feeling anger all the time, your body gets used to the chemicals that are produced by anger. And it will want more of that anger because with any addiction, you need more of the substance to feel the same feelings, to get the same fix. So it produces more anger so that you're reacting now to the same situation with even more intense anger. And then your subconscious mind, which is infinitely powerful and intelligent and really doesn't care about how you feel. It doesn't care that you're joyful or that you're in love. It cares about your survival. So it knows that this feeling of anger has helped you to survive for so long. So it wants to produce that feeling of anger in you as much as possible. So your subconscious mind actually works hard to create the situations that will get you more and more angry so that you will have your fix of anger, and so that you can have as much anger as possible until you're living an angry life. The same goes, of course, with any emotion. This is great news. This is really good news because it gives us a way to work with the law of attraction that can become a lifestyle without effort later on. So at first, you may have to put in some effort and energy into feeling the feelings that you want to feel. But later on, that will just be your default. So my feelings that I was intentionally creating within me, because all feelings are generated within you, so I would generate these feelings of bliss and deep peace and joy and love over and over and over and over and over and over again, intentionally. I wasn't waiting for anything outside of me to create these feelings. I was creating them with the knowledge that it would create the chemicals within me that became addictions, and my subconscious mind would find the situations to make more and more and more of this happen. And it did. And my life changed just because I focused on the feelings that I wanted to feel on a regular basis. Now, interestingly enough, something will happen that throws me off for a minute, that isn't what I want to happen in my life. And it might, for a second, shock me out of feeling this kind of beautiful bliss, but it doesn't last at all. Whereas before, maybe it would be the whole day would be ruined because this thing happened, whatever it is. I don't know, my daughter gave me a hard time, or whatever life thing happened that made me feel not so great. The feelings of feeling not so great would be like all consuming 2 or 3 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago. And I would be hyper focused on those bad feelings, and I'd talk about them and I'd tell myself stories because I was addicted. Now I get upset and it's like I can't even maintain the upsetness. It's the craziest thing. I'm like upset, and then the next thing I'll be thinking about something wonderful that I'm thankful for, and I'll be like, oh, okay, we'll just go with that. And I get right out of it. So that alone is beneficial enough to start this practice of feeling the feelings that you would feel if your life were the way that you wanted it to be. Just that would be worth it. But I promise you, there's so much more to it than that. You will start to notice how your life starts to form around those emotions. You start to notice that like synchronicities will happen, events will line up perfectly that will create that feeling for you in your body. Let's say, for example, you want a relationship. You want a wonderful, loving relationship. Well, ask yourself, what is it that you would feel if you had that relationship right now? That's what you really want. You want the feeling anyway. Like the relationship is just a tool to get you to that feeling. So you want love, you want joy, you want togetherness, you want connection. If you were to get into those states intentionally throughout the day, however many times you can do it, as often as you can do it, the more often the better, then you will experience that. You'll start to notice that there are more opportunities to connect. There's more joy in your life. Suddenly you have a new friend. Suddenly you're getting along with your mom. And all of a sudden you're noticing nature, and there are beautiful sunny days. It's weird how, I swear to God, it even affects the weather. Try it. And you will just notice that your life is falling into alignment with these loving, beautiful, joyful togetherness feelings, and the relationship shows up. It is never, never working in the opposite direction. The feeling and the state of being and the state of mind always comes first. Always. It may not seem like it, but if you look back on all of the events that have happened in your life, you had a feeling beforehand. You may not have thought of that exact event, but I know for me, I was feeling so whole, so in love with life, so joyful, so like peaceful and content with myself. And then I met the man who I'm marrying now. I started feeling really abundant, and like all of this stuff started showing up. I did it purposely. I started just feeling like I was prosperous and abundant, and then I actually got a check in the mail unexpectedly, and I got all of this food delivered to my house. Totally unexpected. It was weird. I like won a $50 gift card to Stop and Shop, like very strange. So the feeling always comes first, and you generate the feelings. So my advice to you, my challenge to you, is to figure out what it is that you want to feel more than anything. Get like maybe 3 emotions that you want to feel, and center your life around that. Stop making goals arbitrarily that don't matter to you. Stop like trying to live up to some weird standard. Just get to the core, authentic emotions that are important for you, and focus on feeling those as often as you possibly can throughout the day. And then do things to get yourself feeling that way if you need to. You may not even need to. For me, I don't need to anymore. I just feel the feelings, and I can feel them really strongly because it's become a practice for me. But until you get to that point, you may need to, like, I don't know, go to an open house to feel what it feels like to walk into a fresh, beautiful house and pretend that it's yours and see what emotions that bring up. It might be, you might need to watch a romantic movie and pretend the whole time that it's you in love. Like, use your imagination, use your wonderful gift to pretend, and get into it as much as you possibly can. Feel it intensely. So I'll tell you this story. I wanted to be married, and I had just broken up with my boyfriend of 7 years, and marriage was like a huge thing for us. We just could not agree on marriage. He did not want to get married. He was never ready, and I could tell that he was never going to be ready. So we broke up. And I was like, you know what? I really want this. I want to be married, so I'm going to work on it. So I did. And I would set my alarm for every 2 hours, and every 2 hours, I would just find a quiet place, no matter where I was, to just feel the feelings of being married. I would imagine a man on one knee, I would imagine the ring, and I would feel it so strongly to the point where a few times I actually cried. And then at night and in the morning, when I set the alarms, sometimes I could only do it for like 30 seconds just to get into the feeling, and then I'd have to let it go because I was doing other things that required my attention. But at night and in the morning, I had longer meditations of like 10, 15 minutes of feeling as strongly as I could that this was mine now, that I was engaged, that I was being proposed to. I would feel it. Very important that you be present tense with this stuff too, by the way. So I met a guy maybe 2 weeks after I started doing that, and he right away we hit it off, and I just knew that he was the guy. He knew that I was the woman for him. He actually called his mom the night he met me and said, I'm asking her to marry me the next time I see her. And his mom was like, whoa, at least go on a second date. Like, we just knew. And within 3 months, he asked me to marry him. So that's the kind of stuff that happens when you can really get into the feeling in depth. And I challenge you to do so. And I would love to hear any stories that you have below. Please comment, please like, please subscribe. I have a lot more good stuff that I'd love to talk about with you, lovely people. All right. Have the best day ever. Goodbye. See you tomorrow.